Okay, now let's create the form parts of our navigation bar. For that, what we can do is here, right after this UL tag. Now it has to be inside the collapse here, the Navbar collapse. It has to be inside this. So what we're going to do is here, we're going to call this a form tag. And for this one, I'm going to give a class. I'm going to call this as deflex. And then I'm going to set the role to search. And then inside this, we're going to create a horizontal stack. So for that, we're going to create div.head stack. And then we're going to give some gap. I'm going to call this as gap 3. Now inside this, we're going to create a search field with a input type search, and then we're going to create a button. So I'm going to call this as input type is search. And for this, we're going to give some classes. I'm going to say class is form control. Then I'm going to call this as form control SM. And I want it to move a little bit. So I'm going to call this as ME auto. Then we're going to give a placeholder. I'm going to call this as search for, and just get 2 dots there. And then we can set in the ARIA label. I'm going to set that for search for. Okay, so I guess that is fine. And now we need to create the search button. So here, I'm going to call this as button. Type is submit. And here we can say class is btn, btn sm, btn success. Okay, so here what we'll do is we'll add the search icon. So let's get to the browser and we can get to getbootstrap.com, get to icons, and here we can look for a search icon, call this as search. I'll take this one, copy the SVG, let's get back to our code, and then we're going to paste it over here. Let's save that. Let's see how that looks. Let's get back to the browser, and you can see that we also got the spacing, and also we got this one. The next thing what we need is a vertical line right after this so that we can create the logout button. So let's get back here, and what we can do next is right after this head stack here, I'm going to create a div.vr, that is vertical line. Let's save that. Let's see how that looks. I can't see or make any difference. That's because we don't have much items to show up. So we're going to work on this later, but for now we're going to create the logout button. So for this, right now I'm going to use the anchor tag, but later you can convert that to a button and we can give some functionality to that. So right now I want this to link to index.html, because if I click on the logout button, I want to move to the login screen. So here we can give some classes. I'm going to call this as class as btn, btn sm, call this as btn warning. And inside this, we need to add a button. So let's get back here and let's get back to the search. And in this search, we're going to look for a power button. So yeah, there's a lot of options. I'm going to use this one. This is actually a pretty good icon for logout. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it here, just tap this a little bit, save this. Let's get to the browser. Let's see how that looks. You can see that we don't have much of a spacing here. So we need to provide in some spacing. So let's do that. Let's get to our code. And what we can do here is, for this thing, I'm going to say ME. I'm going to set that to 3. Let's see how much spacing does that give. So it gives enough spacing here, but we have that vertical bar, so we need to set that one. So let's get back to our code here. We're going to say .vr, and then we're going to set the color to white. Save that, and if I get to the browser, you can see that we have that thing. So we need to give some more spacing around this one too. So let's get back here, and you can see that we have this anchor tag. For this, we're going to say ms3. That's going to give some spacing on the left hand side. So we have the search, and we have this bar, and then also we have the power button now, which is actually the logout button.